Everest approaches her. My intention was to make a little surprise, but, given the circumstances. Amos. He extends his hand with the palm facing upwards, towards one of his men. Boss. Are you sure? It would worth a fortune on the black market, said Amos, hesitating for a moment, keeping his hand hidden inside his coat. Don't talk nonsense, said Everest. Amos then reveals, with a grimace of frustration, a rod from inside his coat. Where's the head? Exclaims Abeleen. A guarantee. Everest began. Then continued. Unfortunately, we live in a part of the city where nothing is free, Miss Grant. Will you be a good girl? Or is more prudent of me to avoid placing any particularly rigid object in your hands? Abeleen says. You'll have to take a risk. Everest smiles, and after a brief moment contemplating the rod, passes it to her. She observes it too, and then seems to settle down. Everest comments. I knew the breathing exercise would be beneficial. As she checked the object, she observed with herself, if it was a forgery, it was incredibly well done. It was the stem of the rod she had inherited from her uncle, Santini, missing the handrest, carved in the shape of an owl's head, with two colorless jewels for eyes. A part was still better than nothing, and the thought of something so dear to her circling the gutters of the city, like an ordinary thing, had tormented her more than she could imagine. So? Can you be a little more cooperative? This is the second time that destiny conspires so I can lend you a helping hand. I think the Providence is trying to tell us something. Abeleen says. I think I can, Mr. Everest. He's redhead, blue-eyed, cross-eyed. He's unshaven. And he's wearing a flannel jumpsuit. Better dressed than you, anyway. So imaginative. Everest says, adjusting his suit. You're not going to get the help you need by not telling the truth, Miss Grant. If you're not going to believe what I tell you, why bother asking? She says. I'm sorry. You're probably confused because of our little distress. I refuse to consider that you don't have much confidence in me. What do you think? She said sharply. Everest signals the employee to come closer, saying something in his ear. The employee asks. The usual tactics? Everest frowns at the question and says. Yes, the usual tactics. Understood? Abeleen exhales. The men respond with an affirmative nod, standing there. He then finishes. You can go then. The men leave to fulfill their order, closing the door, leaving the couple once again apparently alone. Well. Everest begins, slapping his right thigh. Even with all this inconvenience, welcome to my office. I would even offer you tea, but something tells me you will decline. Welcome, he says. Handsome, charming, irresistible? How preposterous that, knowing what is known all about him, so many publications praises his looks and personality. All she knew about him was that she couldn't trust a single word coming out of his mouth, and his flirtatious smile irritated her. She would bear his abuse only because of the rod. She probably would have to get involved with the likes of him in the dark corners of the city to get it back from some crook. As for the office, with its mahogany furniture, seemed tacky and gloomy, as if he gets disturbed by light. Everest walks behind his desk, and as he's about to sit down, he directs his hand towards the opposite chair, and Abeleen sits down, letting herself go in annoyance. Also sitting down, Everest speaks. Perhaps we should take this moment to dissuade certain false impressions of our first meeting. Like you, I am the victim of rumors and irresponsible publications by faceless people under pompous pseudonyms and grandiloquent titles. I know you revolt against these injustices as much as I do. Don't compare me. It turns out that unlike you, I'm not a cheap blackmailer. Thought Abeleen to herself, but saying in a soft voice. Considering that you are taking advantage of my emotionality to extortion me, I believe you are living up to these rumors. Miss Grant, you must consider the circumstances. If only I could count on your reasonableness, I would not make use of such gross artifices. So I'm the unreasonable one? You're really a joker. I still think that, even under such a vexing circumstance, we can still maintain our cordiality. He takes a box from some compartment of his desk, depositing it on